Nico Batum, Nico Batum, Nico Batum. The Sixers owe appearance in the first round to Nico Batum.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 76ers. We are your hosts, Keith Pompey and John Mitchell. And the thing about Locked On 76ers, we are free and available every day. And you can get us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now listen, Mitch, I'm here to tell you the 76ers wouldn't have made it. Well, I wouldn't say they wouldn't have made it because they probably would have won Friday night. But they would not have received the 7th seed if it was not for Sir Nico Batum. Joel Embiid was struggling a little bit. Tyrese Maxey was good, but he wasn't dominant. Tobias Harris struggled, and Nico Batum took over, bruh. I'm talking about took over from his role player role and advanced the Sixers to the first round of the playoffs. Now here's the deal. So we gotta break him down. We also gotta talk about Embiid. That version of Joel Embiid will not beat the New York Knicks. So we gotta talk about that. He won't. Second segment, we'll break that down. And then we look at it, the bench. The bench was a little shaky. People was asking, like, how is campaign going to do? How are these other Paul Reed going to do? How are these other guys going to do? And the bench saved them in the second half. Now, granted, Nico came off the bench was balling, but he wasn't the only contributor. So we'll talk about that more. But talk to me about Nico Batum. What really impressed you about his performance last night?
Boom, Batum, man. I mean, the 3-point shooting, man. I mean, what more can you say? They needed an infusion of energy, an infusion of life in them, and Batum provided it, man. Um, yeah. I mean, to come off the bench and to go 6 for 10 from behind the 3-point line, I think. If Klay Thompson was watching that game, he was like, "Man, those are all my 3-pointers I missed against." In my playing game, Nico Batum got them all. He played defense, the huge block shot, late in the fourth quarter. I mean, what more can you say? And I had to give you a shout out, Keith, because you, if I'm not mistaken, just a little over 24 hours ago, you said Nico Batum would be that dude. We were going over the guys who had to be the key. And yeah, he played a great game, man. Every time he lined up to take his jumper, he played good defense as he always does. He just did everything, man. He gave him energy. He looked like a veteran who has been in the NBA and was like, okay, some of these guys are sputtering. And it's interesting because you heard Joel Embiid say that I don't like to hear this coming from him, around playoff time that, Tyrese and I are struggling, that somebody else has got to step it up. Yeah, that's the truth. But I don't want to see you. I don't want, you reigning MVP. I don't want to hear about you struggling right now. But I digress. So, yeah, it was, but Batum was just, he really balled out.
Funny, man. You're funny, but I'll digress. So, in other words, you didn't like hearing that post-game interview, huh? Nah, I didn't like it. But the funny part about it, if we're gonna be real, dog, in the first half, like we gotta give them shots, but we'll talk more about Embiid in the second segment. I don't know what it is, allergies for both of us. But here's the deal. They look soft, dude, in the first half. And it was a great win. And that's why Nico's performance really stood out. Because he had that eye of the tiger. And I know that's a really cliche to say, but you should have seen it, man. If you were there, you'd have been like, brother man came to play. But he had that on, that face. He was wearing that on Tuesday too. Like I said to him, I said, "Dang, Nico, like you serious, bro? Like I get it. Like I get it. This is the playoffs, but man,
Yeah,
I said, Nico, is a difference. You ain't you like normally he like, hey, how you doing? Nah, he had like an attitude that looked like on Tuesday, like not really, but he was just real serious. So then you see him play, and you like, yo, okay, I get it. He's been here before. He knows the difference. This wasn't about, yo, I'm happy to be here. This is like, no, we got a mission. But I'm telling you, dude, some of them guys on his team, it reminded me of the 2022 second round playoffs when they went up against Miami and they was out there getting punked. Some of them was looking kind of
yeah,
timid, and some of them you can tell wasn't used to this. And what I mean by used to it, they weren't used to the moment. The moment was too big. So, and then you look at Embiid. Embiid was struggling. You look at Maxey. Maxey was getting there, but against that zone, dude, like, what do we talk about yesterday? Forget Jimmy Butler. We
yeah.
love Jimmy Butler, but if you don't stop Tyler Hero, and
Hmm.
if you don't stop Duncan Robinson, and you can't solve that zone, you're going to lose.
Yeah,
And they looked horrible in the first half against the zone. Bro, you weren't there. They were getting booed. Tobias,
I
every
heard
time,
it.
I mean, when they walked off the court, all you heard was a loud stream
Yeah,
of boos. So Nico, his performance saved the day for the Sixers.
yeah, yeah. They I mean, you could hear the boos were audible on television, man, and the boos were deserved, man. I mean, they turned the ball. They looked like they had never played against the zone, and you know they worked against the zone in practice because that's Miami's thing. You know,
Yeah.
they I mean, the turnovers just. It was like 11 turnovers in the first half. I was like, "Come on, y'all! You're looking like you don't even want to see the second round this year." And that's how they looked in the first half. They were a horrible team, man. But they came out and they corrected things to their credit. They shot the ball a lot better, 50% in the second half. As opposed to like it was like 33% they shot in the first half. So they got it together, and kudos to their bench because the bench got outscored 21-7 in the first half. In the second half, the bench came out and outscored them 29-19. And with the turnovers, you know, they cut the turnovers way down in the second half. So they made the adjustment. Now, if you saw fear in their eyes, that fear might have been warranted. You want them to come out like lions, but this hasn't been the 76ers MO. Um, and you hope that moving forward that they have gotten this out of their system. But yeah, Nico, man, it was a joy to watch. It was a joy to watch him play with heart. To see him say, okay, this moment's not too big, because like as you pointed out, the moment seemed too big for a lot of them guys, man. It seemed
Yeah.
it seemed like it was too big, and it wasn't too big for Nico. So
But
shout
here,
out to him.
now the one thing I gotta give Nick Nurse credit for though. Late in the game, we got to a point where Tobias was struggling a little bit, and the coach like took him out and subbed him
Tobias,
out.
brother.
He subbed him out, and Nick Nurse was asked about it, and of course he said,
Mhm.
"Well, Tobias was gassed. He was this. He was on that." Nah, what happened is the coach made a decision that
Yeah,
we ain't going to play on Friday, and
yeah,
at that point, now Kelly wasn't playing particularly well either, but at that point, you know, I guess he decided we're going to ride with Kelly, and
hmm
we're going to and Nico going to play the four. You know what I mean? So and that's what it was. Nico was the hot end, and again, I know some people said like, but you said don't bench Tobias. Nah, you don't bench him from the start. But if it's a situation like this, I guess you gotta go with the hot hand. And the hot hand was Nico, and then Kelly was providing some D, doing some other things. Kelly made some clutch plays, when they
hmm
needed in
yeah,
the second half. So yeah, it just seemed like Tobias started out strong. He started out 2 for 3, 4 points in the first quarter. But then that second quarter, he went 1 for 5. The third quarter, he made his one shot, and then the fourth quarter, for like 8 minutes, he was on the floor around 8 minutes, and he only had one shot, and he missed it, and so badly. So it's kind of like, the coach had to yank him, and they won the game.
Yeah. They it was like you said, he didn't throw him under the bus, and I'm glad. But I mean, Tobias knew him play well, and we all saw it. So you live to fight another day. You get a chance to redeem yourself, starting in Madison Square Garden come this Saturday. But right now, we've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime, and the scoreboard is not looking good. The 76ers can relate to that. You're feeling low,
Hey,
not sure you or your team can pull out a win. That's when you dig deep, lift your head up, and say to yourself, time to get back in the game, pull off some bank heists, and take as much of my friends' money as I possibly can. That's right. The smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone anytime with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. There's so much to do. Play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards. Make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball. Charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests and in tournaments to get extra rewards and climb the leaderboard. So get back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go. Now free on the App Store at Google Play. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming and hollering. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Do it today, folks.
definitely do it today. So here's the deal, man. So Joel Embiid ended up with let me get this for you just to make sure I get it all right. Joel Embiid ended up with a team high 23 points. He had a game high 15 rebounds. He had 5 assists, which was second on the team because Tyrese Maxey and campaign. Yeah, Tyrese Maxey and Buddy Hield had wow, that's good when Buddy Hield was tied for the team lead with 6, right? But then when you look at it, Joel, man, he came to life in the fourth quarter,
He did.
but he was 3 for 12 shooting through 3 quarters.
Yeah.
3 for 12. In the fourth quarter, he hit 2 huge 3 pointers. He did some things. But I'm here to tell you, man, Joel looked more like a role player than the MVP. And Joel is the most dominant player in the league. Now, maybe it's his knee was hampering him. Maybe it was a lot of other things it could have been. But Mitch, he didn't look good for 3 quarters. And then what happened is he had like a gut check, and he said, I got to do it. Because in that fourth quarter, he scored 11. He dug deep. He scored 11 points. He was 3 for 5. He was 2 for 2 on threes. He had 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Now, with the knee and whatever, they had him at the dunker position, and he wasn't he wasn't doing what he normally does.
Yeah.
He had that wiggle. The shot wasn't falling.
Yeah.
All I know is you can tell that he's hampered.
Yeah.
But he looked like you said, bro. As the thing said, that version of Joel Embiid is not going to beat the Knicks because as great as Nico Batum played, That's not something that you can get. You're
Right.
going to rely on night in and night out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Joel has to play better.
Yeah, like you said, if Joel Embiid is not the best player on the floor when they face the New York Knicks, the 76ers are not even going. They're not going to advance past the second round again. The one caveat where they do advance to the second round, if he's not the best player on the floor, is if Tyrese Maxey is the best player on the floor. Because if Brunson is the best player on the floor in the next series, they're not going to beat the New York Knicks, And again, I was watching Joel and I was saying to myself, and since he returned from his surgery in the regular season, and these were huge regular season games, he averaged 30, 9.2 boards, 5.3 assists, 1.4 steals, and a little more than a block per game in those regular seasons after the surgery. And you wonder what is different for him now that the postseason is played, because the body language starts to change with Joel. He's grabbing for his knees, and shout out, he played a great game. And Joel, you dug deep, bro, in the fourth quarter. You did. You look like a superstar. You look close to an MVP. Close to an MVP, but not an MVP. But yeah, I gotta see. You have to see that wiggle, that mid-range jumper that has been falling all season long. Those shots have to fall. He started drifting out to the three-point line a little more than I'd like for him to do. And granted, he made a big one late in the game. But I'm waiting for a time when Embiid turns into dominant performance in the playoffs. And again, I don't want to see the guy who's reaching for his knee, massaging his knee. I mean, I know it hurts. But hey, Jimmy Butler's got to play again, and he could barely move leaving the arena. I mean, I don't even know if he's going to be available for that second play-in game. But yeah, we have to get more from. They're not. They're just not. It's very simple. They're not going to advance if Joel doesn't really show up and drop a bomb on Madison Square Garden. I mean, he's got to play better than he played. Than he played against Miami.
Yeah, he definitely does. I mean, that I looked at that and I was like, bruh, like I was like, yo, what's going on, man? And I mean, it's one of those things where you look at him and it's one of those things you look at him and you wonder. And I asked Nick Nurse this, and Nick Nurse said, no, we're not concerned. But of course he's gonna say we're not concerned.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where you look at Joel Embiid and you're wondering if he's like scared, like of the knee, like
Yeah.
he's worried about
Yeah.
further injury. Not saying he's scared, like because he's not scared to play, but he's scared of doing, and maybe I shouldn't use scared. He's extra cautious
Mm-hmm.
instead of just going out there and playing, and that's what it looks like at times to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then also, I hate to say it, his lateral movement isn't there anyway. He's not reacting as quickly as he used to on defense. You see how at one play he tried to block a shot and he couldn't elevate all the way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And he got caught. First of all, he reacted slow and he couldn't get up there.
Yeah.
So it's just he gotta they gotta get better. I mean, and I don't know. He just said he's trying. They're
Yeah.
trying, but
And he is
they
trying.
gotta play better. They gotta play better.
Yeah, he's got to play better, man. Whatever they do between now and Saturday, that knee, I want to see a more Joel who was closer to the player we saw less than a week ago. I don't want to see him out there. I mean, and he got that rest. They closed out Brooklyn without him on the floor. So he did get rest. So I think that's a warning sign. 76.
Yeah.
I think it's a warning sign. He's got to do better. Yeah. Right, and hey, it's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing. Phillies pitching staff looks dynamic, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed. $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks. All on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. It's FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Let me back my mug back up from the screen a little bit. Let people get some breather, bro.
Nah, you good. You good. Here's the deal, man. Like, let's talk about this last game. I mean, this third segment. We got to talk about the bench, and like as I admitted, I thought things were going to be shaky. When I look at what happened, you look at it's funny. Nico Batum was the star of the game, and that's why you can't always go by plus minuses, right? So
Yeah,
Nico was the star of the game. They don't win the game without Nico. I mean, 20 points, 5 assists, 6 for 10 on threes, 7 for 12 overall. He had a great block, but he was a team worst -10. You can't go by that. You know what I
yeah,
mean? You
yeah,
can't go by -10,
yeah.
right? All the time. So then you go Paul Reed, B-ball Paul, 9 minutes. He had 6 points on three for three shooting. He had 2 rebounds and he had a block. Now he was a +3. And
Mm,
then you look at Buddy Hield, you say to yourself, Dag, Buddy, you couldn't buy a 3-pointer. You made one that was big, but you were 1 for 5. Buddy Hield had 7 points. But what we were talking about, he did have 2 turnovers, but he had 6 assists. Like Buddy Hield had 6 assists. So then you
mm.
go with your boy Campaign, came in and played 3 minutes and 29 seconds. Just came in real quick, made a cameo, and had a huge 3-pointer. I
Yeah,
mean, huge. So you look at the bench and you say to yourself, like, man, the Sixers bench was balling. I mean, they
yeah,
were balling. Like, I mean, you look at, Kevin Love had 10 points. You know, Jaime, the freshman, I mean, rookie, had 15. Hayward Highsmith had 9, who I got to admit, man, he played a heck of a game. He got so much better since when he
yeah.
played with the Sixers. And the lone right had 6. But the Sixers bench, those 4 guys were phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because you look at, I mean, let's look at the Sixers bench and you look at their starters. Lowry, 7 points on 3 for 10 shooting. Maxey, 19 points on 6 for 16 shooting. Kelly Oubre, 11 points on 3 for 9. And Tobias, 9 points on 4 for 10. And Joel, 6 for 17 shooting. The bench played better than the starters.
Man, the bench gave. I mean, they scored 66 points in the second half, and the bench gave them 29 of them. And that was after getting blasted 21-7 in the first half. I mean, it looked like Miami was a team that was going to have we would be talking about Miami's bench today. Yeah. The Sixers bench showed up and showed out. I mean, obviously, Nico Batum's performance goes without saying. Dropping all those 3-pointer, clutch 3-pointer after clutch 3-pointer. But they really, as a team, adjusted, and that there was some actual trickle down, significant trickle down to the bench. Like you said, Cam only played like 3 minutes, but with the shot he took, to come in there and to make it cold the way he did was huge, man. And again, those 3-pointers were not falling for them. I think they made 3 in the first half, if I'm not mistaken. They made 9 in the second half, and most of them came from Batum. So it was a very good showing. And again, Joel made that reference that when Tyrese and I don't have it going, when I don't have it going, other guys have to produce. Well, those guys stepped up. They stepped up and they actually saved your ass. I mean, let's keep it very, very real. So again, now it's on you, Joel. I'm switching it back to you. People want you were dropping 30 points per game. The Sixers are on a 9-game winning streak right now. And like you said, guys, like if Nick Batum is your best player in Madison Square Garden, you're gonna get bombed. You're gonna get bombed. So yeah, the bench played very well, and you want to see them continue to make those contributions. But You don't want to become bench reliant. You want to become, all these platitudes about Joel Embiid is the guy who's average, since Wilt Chamberlain, the average more points per game than he is minutes played. Dog, it's now is the time. Like Dr. Martin Luther King said, now is the time.
Let Embiid ring. Let Embiid
Let it
ring. Let
ring.
Embiid ring.
Yeah, you ring that bell and ring on Madison Square Garden. That overrated basketball city.
You think that you think? Yeah. It is. The city is. But do you think? No, because you know what? It's funny though. Like I always joke with my friends in New York. I got two cousins who live in New York, and like, well, two of them who moved from Philly who moved there and they love New York. But then I got other cousins who used to live in Brooklyn. Still live in Brooklyn. But as a kid, I would go up there and everything. And then as we got older, I was like, yeah. Y'all got all the dudes in high school, but what happened when they go pro? You know what I mean? You keep saying New York, and then, and then,
once upon a time, New York was a great haven.
but
Once upon a time,
but Kenny Anderson ain't walking through that door.
Dwayne Pearl Washington ain't pull himself out of the grave. Rest in peace, Dwayne Pearl Washington.
Yeah, but but like it used to be funny. Like I used to crack up. Nah, man, New York.
Yeah.
And I say, all right, let's look and see who got the better players in the
Yeah,
pro.
yeah. I said, okay, Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, if you quite honest, look at it.
But you can't even you don't even want to go even Wilt. So they'll tell you you gotta take Wilt and them out of the equation, right? So like,
okay, Kobe.
But they say, well, but then they'll come back with Kobe was born overseas. You can't claim that, right? So I was like, all right. So I said to him, all right, what about the Morris twins? What about Deion Waiters? What about you know what I mean? Like Wayne Henderson, and Wayne Ellington and Gerald Henderson. What about this? What about that? And they're like, all right. Like, but in high school, y'all had these dudes who was like, you know what I mean?
But you know what? As Rakim says for New York, it's been a long time. It's been a long time since y'all were really nice. Now let's be real.
All right, so now let's stop before. Let's stop talking about the basketball joint. I'm probably gonna get. But nah, listen. But anyway, let's talk about the Knicks. You think the Knicks?
We'll give y'all Alicia Keys, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do you think the Knicks? Do you think the Knicks are over? I don't think. You think the Knicks are overhyped?
No, I don't think so. I'm saying that because I like to talk trash to New Yorkers, but I mean, I've always respected Tibbs. He hasn't gotten to the point where they tune him out. He's kind of a coach that gets tuned out eventually in places he's been in the past. But right now they're not at that stage. I think that I mean, Brunson's played at an MVP level, man. He's I mean, granted they're without Julius Randle. So that should be the feather in the Sixers hat. That should be the one caveat that you can say, listen, man, they're short-handed, but they've gotten used to playing without him.
Yeah.
And I know earlier in the season, you and I were talking about it. You said, hey, when this all comes together, it's going to be really good.
Like, now that's what they're trying to tell you. That's what they're going to tell you next time you go to New York. But nah, yeah, you're right. I mean, they are. They got a pretty good team. But here's the crazy part. The reason why they're so good is because they got some of that Philly flavor or mainline flavor.
Yeah.
You can't really claim these dudes because, one of them from Chicago, the other one from the D.C. area. Now, DiVincenzo is from Delaware, so you can say, that's from the area. But at the same time, I think you're right. They're not tuning the coach out. They're doing a lot of things. They got a great story. They have been playing hard. My question is with them is like, are they? We've seen in the past that they're a better regular season team than they are a playoff team.
Yeah,
that's the knock, right? They get worn out and this and that. Their bench isn't that good because he plays his starters so many minutes, right?
Right.
These guys don't get adjusted. Thomas Robinson, what is now he's hampered. He came back to from an injury. Harkenstein, you know what I mean? He's gonna like he's a real disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
Embiid doesn't dominate him like you think he would. So there's a lot of stuff going on with this team. So I mean, we'll see. It should be an exciting series. I think that if I'm the 76ers, this ain't the team. Like, I don't want to play them, nor do I want to play the Boston Celtics. But again, it's like I think the Sixers can win this series.
They can.
But like we said, Embiid has to play better.
That's it.
Maxey has to play better. Tobias has to play better,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Everybody
Because
got to play better. Buddy Hill got to play better.
yeah. They got to hit shots. They got to hit them wide open shots. You know what I mean? But look, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On Plus, our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on a free Fire TV channel app. For my man John Mitchell, I'm Keith Pompey. We like to say goodbye. Have a good one. Enjoy your weekend. Get ready for the game on Monday. The Sixers are off today, but we'll have our preview with you guys tomorrow morning. Peace.
Go Sixers.